No, this is the kind of keep them guessing. What is the youths on them? They say the youths on them have a thing they say, don't let them know your next move. So anytime you see the podcast and come out on Tuesdays, because they keep all guessing. I can't let all know my next move right through. You know what I mean? You have to keep this thing bubbling. How you start off this thing again, boy? It's been a while, you know. No, we have a few things to talk about in this episode, but if Sabgo don't want to talk about his own report, or they really want me to talk about that, or we should get back into all these school fights and who father beating people, children and all these kind of things. I have a list in front of me, you know. Let me tell you what we're talking about today, just to keep me honest. You know, the list insane, but forget our list. We will get through some topics, right? I want to start by going back to last week. Because I leave only with a trivia question that my mother, who always is one of the people who's helped me with these songs for the episode and thing, get the answer closest to where it is. But the two songs that Rose win, for those of you listening for the first time, welcome to the Corey Shepherd Podcast. This is episode 98. You can find this podcast, despite popular belief, on any Tuesday morning, bright and early. Or it's always here, you know what I mean? You could look at it on any time. On any of the podcasting apps and on YouTube, you could come and see it if you want to see it. But last week, I was telling people, because if you know this podcast, we had a trial Calypso in the mix. Our stories are told by Calypso, and I come in to tell our stories on a week-to-week basis. But I said last week that 77 and 78, I hope I did two numbers right, was the years that Rose win Calypso Monarch back-to-back. And I said only have a couple other women who win. One win back-to-back, so my mother had that. Salute to her. Always on top of the Kaiso and Calypso information. So the other one to win was Fair, who also won back-to-back, and Sinel Dempster was the one I thought all you wouldn't remember. When the river come, when the river come. Anybody was fretted when Sinel Dempster sing that song? Let me see how old all is. You know what was happening to Sinel Dempster that year? That song was so popular. Clear the way, the water coming. And them days was the days of brass and customs and over the hill boys and them fets whole week, yeah? And Sinel Dempster couldn't perform the song coming down close to Carnival, if people remember, because when she sang that river song, she used to come out in a onesie. What do you call them thing? A onesie, a leotard, whatever, a big spandex outfit. And let me tell you something. Man used to bathe down Sinel Dempster with water, rum, anything. He used to splash the water coming. When she said that splash, people dashing water at Sinel Dempster. Hey, a fete is a great thing, you know. Although a little upset about all these people, right? Only enjoy a little melee. I try not to say nothing about it. I try not to be a hater. No, only in Josie's jamishness, only doing the most, all right, back and all right, okay, everybody, all do everything. Everybody fetting on them thing, but them days, some of them still get wet down so much that by the Carnival week, when you really want to push your Road Mad song, she couldn't perform. Her voice was completely gone. It was bad. I could tell you that week of Carnival. But she still come through the road match. And salute to her. She would have been the second woman to win a road match at that time. So, I mean, we need more women winning it, right? But the two songs from Rose was Fire, Fire and My Wire, Wire. I think I played that last week. I'm pretty sure I did. But this is the second song she win the road match with. A lot of people that say Going Down San Fernando, but it was this song here. Yes.
This is Caribbean vibes.
This is not Caribbean vibes.
Take this feeling.
You must be yes.
My heart is reeling.
You mustn't doubt me.
So hold me tighter. Let's dance the soca. Come dance the soca. So give me two boom 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 in the soul. The bones are all. So let me jam. Soca jam. Calypso jam. So let me jam, 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 jam. Hey! jam, soca jam, calypso jam. So let we jam, 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 jam
together. Oh yes, jam one another. Oh Lord, jam together. Oh gosh, jam one another. So Calypso Rose, salute to her. We celebrate the 82nd. It was last week. We're continuing to celebrate that, but I just wanted to make sure that we know that little piece of history. Coincidentally, 78, that is a song also credited as the first song branded as a soca to win a road march. So salute to Calypso Rose all around, right? Little lessons, you know what I mean? I learn as I go along, just like you. So, what to do now? Jump into the details of the week? Now, they have a song I might just want to play for the sake of playing it, because I tell you. You see, I kind of give everybody a warning saying that, listen, if all you again, you will get an episode every week, but when in the week again, it could be very, very iffy, because under some pressure on the people work being open. I just hope no clients in watching this, right? But it's some pressure. And I had to work. I can't play. When I come home, I'm tired in real life. It's been a long time since they catch me fumbling. I'm completely on the back foot. And we had to get things together with our clients here. So, all you forgive me. I come in, but you ain't going to know when. I had to keep them guessing. But another reason where this thing getting hard to record and edit and put out on time is that the news cycle itself, and I'm hearing people complaining about it on the radio who want to come and talk every day. I can't imagine what that would be like. But they have some radio programs where they come and they discuss what the news is on every morning, the headlines then. Morning Edition and them is one. Blaze and JW, you know, I listen to them all the time. Dale and Tony, my guys. Chinese and them. I hear many people on morning shows complaining that the news just too heavy. I don't know if all you feeling the same way, but the news cycle in Trinidad itself, it's just heavy. And every morning you open the papers, they had a spate of women who get killed last week. I just decided I'm not talking about it because, you see me, I want to always stay on the lighter side of issues. Let me be light, entertaining, and informative. Our song, you know what I mean? We can still cover the things as the nation reeling, but I can't go into heavy mode. And sometimes when I done come from work and I'm tired now, and I had to record, and I had to drop this man up and down the highway. How does dropping children to school thing going for you? Are you surviving this? It's just me? Or we having issues? You know that up and down the highway for me is Shogunas to San Fernando and back every day. But everything that's happened just always to happen, because now that I had to drop him San Fernando, I'm in the office every day, and gratefully, even though we getting some licks, I feel like I'm better off in office so we could fix some of the people problems as we go along. But I want to take a quick minute before we jump into this. So give me one moment. I want to salute Junior Agrello. Which one is he one is play the pan and which one is he one is the mayor? I want to salute the elder Agrello. Because I come here and I'm bad talking and I say things about him. But listen, that man is working. He's very, very present. And he's making changes that making it a little easier to get in and around the promenade to do your school pickups and to get out of San Fernando when the time comes. The man trying things and he making changes, and we have to salute that as much as it comes. But with all this heavy news and thing, because we have some heavy news to go through here today, but this song kind of comes to mind for all of us, because listen, the news can't be good if the country ain't good. You know what I mean? Take in this.
Some of them just no want, them no want do nothing. Well listen, better be in a P's and Q's. If not for my friend and his ooze. This one have a little like news. Can't fit, get out my shoes. No one can live without food. Man can you live in just two. Hey, you rise this morning. Give thanks for life. A new day for you to try yet nothing you're doing. Contributing to life your skylark. Cause the day pass you by, soon you'll be complaining. Say, things the right, how could it be? Nothing you apply, you've been blamed. Why oh my, play and no work makes Jack a dull boy. See there, your rivers run dry, you're on your knees. The day has ended, and nothing you have achieved. Oh, I come cry, I just can't believe there's a second chance in the sky. Oh please, do some good to the house and put away your destructive attitudes. Do some good to the house. Today make repair your future virtues. Do some good to the house and put away your destructive attitudes. Do some good to the house and make repair your future virtues. Oh How can we when we kill we self like we mad separating? And you know so that is bad. I am here to bring the people them together. Then I tried from one to another. Music is the method. Yeah, no for we a rap from the poor people we back. Like a Shabba say, no for grab like left and crab. No get to youth your police force mob. And then I brag. Oh God, isn't it love you have? Good to the and wipe away your destructive attitudes. Loose and good to the
So what good we doing as individuals, boy? You know, we like to sit down here and talk, you know, I mean, mostly me, sit down and talk about society and what society this and society is a collection of individuals. It has plenty this happen when them individuals come together, but the society can't be good if we ain't doing good. So I just want to talk about my weekend because I feel like I had a great weekend. How all your weekend was? All it was good? Let me pretend it's still Tuesday now because see, man like Naldo firing shots while putting up on Instagram that, well, it must be still Monday because it's, you know, alright, okay, no problem. I'll take my shots, you know what I mean? But last week when I do the pickup, I tell you, I ain't so sure how I cope, you know, these pickups from school. So I go on and pick up Zachary from school Friday. And you know, the woman is saying, tiredness come down. And then I was Stacey said, the tiredness come down on me. Well, here now, I'm tired. Like I can't drive up the highway kind of tired. And when I reached to pick up Zachary, because it's a little bit of an awkward thing to doing in boys' school. Well, boys' RC, right? I understand now is boys' school and boy RC is two different things in Sando, right? So boys' RC, not giving these children an evening break. So usually they would have a break somewhere. School starts in 8:30. By 8 o'clock, I just drop him off. So which means he probably eat breakfast somewhere between 7:30, right? And then he would take his morning break somewhere around 10, 9:30, whatever the time is. And he have snacks or fruits or whatsoever he have. Then he has lunch at somewhere between 11:30 and 12:30, I believe. And then they have no afternoon break, assuming that is to avoid the mingling. I think it's still have a thing called COVID. Last time I checked, you know what I mean, a little bit. And think of it as a little child who went through 2 years of eating anything they want, anytime, whole day, whole night they eating. So going back now where your last meal was 11:30 to 12. Let me say they finished it. You know them eating as soon as the bell ring. So every evening this man come in my car, he is hungry. And this man gonna make me broken, you know. So I decided to put a little system in place. The way I deal with Zachary, right? Me the best father it have, and I just tell you what my system is, right? I don't know what is all his system and what is work. But I keep this man on two things, incentive driven and schedule driven. So if I know it have certain things I want him to do, like he had to do music, he had to be able to play instruments, he had to be able to defend yourself, so he had to go to taekwondo, you must be able to swim, but they ain't open back the pool yet. You had to exercise, so you don't end up like me. You know what I mean? So I have him on a schedule of things he's do, and that schedule is what is earning him his time on a weekend to play Fortnite and all this, whatever all that thing is, and skins and all these kind of things that I don't understand, right? But I realize this hungry every day. This man have expensive taste because when he come in, when we leave school and we pass by South Park, this man want to stop by Starlight or by Maria's or by Starbucks. Everything he talk there, everything you call there is about $75, $80. So I say, but if I do that every week, I in problems on month and come bills and go pay. So I say, here what's going on, brother? Once every 2 weeks, you could get your choice between the Starbucks or the Maria's or your Starlight meal. Because when the man goes Starlight, sushi the man wants, you know, these mothers, they're raising the children in a way where if them ain't take it, wherever them ain't clean up, they let the children clean up, you know, your bank account, they're running through that. So I said, brother, listen, once every 2 weeks, you could get one of those. That is a treat according to how you're doing. And snow cones is only on a Friday because I have a snow cone lady outside us boys' school there where it's only $5 for a snow cone, but that is not something you could eat every day. So I tell him, listen, only on a Friday and not every Friday you could ask for the snow cone and we will get, right? So I have him on this little schedule to make sure that he good. But the thing is, every evening he hungry. So if he don't eat all these snacks and things in the bag, we find him somewhere to go. Now, I decide this Friday, I say, no, I tired and I hungry. So I break in my own Starbucks and Maria's rule. And I go on C3 this time, just to not, I want him to get wise to the fact that I break in the rule because the 2 weeks wasn't up yet, But I went by Maria's and I went to one of my other favorite places that I like to go to. If I could tell you the name, I'd do good enough, but I don't feel I could remember the name. What I could tell you is that they have a place in C3 and they also have a place in Movie Tongue in Port of Spain. In Movie Tongue in Port of Spain, they're right next to Excellent. You could see them from the 94 show by the stadium there. They serve kind of like breakfast foods and pastry. There's a kind of half bakery. There's somewhere between Maria's, Nicosa's and them, like in terms of what they serve and thing, right? And we went there and we sit down and we eat. And I say, well, if I eat there and I sit down a little while and I drink a coffee, the tiredness go way off. According to Stacey, where the tiredness come down, I can get the tiredness to go back up. And then I'm going to make the highway. Well, boy, that was a mistake. Because, you know what it is to say, I just kick in. Well, now I'm sleepy. And I can't figure out what to do. But you had to think quick. You had to be able to think on your feet. So I say, here, what's he saying? I could make this man feel like it's a little treat I giving him. You know what I mean? Make him feel like it's about him. And carry him in the cinema to see some kind of movie. That way I could catch a sleep. Because you don't know anything about me. When I go in cinema, I go into sleep. I cannot, you know, when they place a little bit bright and you know they're showing previews from other movies, I just be so awake and interested and eating whatever popcorn or whatever you get me. Listen, you see when that screen open out a little more and that place get dark and I sink down in movie tongue, little comfortable seats. Only sorry I didn't remember it at a VIP. I would have surely go in the VIP. I hear I could lie down flat and just get blankets and thing. So that's my new MO. Anytime I in South and I can't make it up the highway and I'm sleepy, I go in and cinema. But this man, he said he wants to see either Doctor Strange or it had some other movie he said he wanted to see. But Doctor Strange was the closest one to the time. And I don't know if only into them Marvel movies or if that's a Marvel movie or whatever it is. Thanos, I don't even know who's the other people in it. That is the single worst movie I've ever seen in my long-legged life. I don't know what was going on there. At one point I said, but it's a horror. And I watching Zachary and looking like he frightened at all. And boy, I killing sleep. I snoring hard. I get myself revived. Nice. To drive up the road. So, just let's say you do some good today. That was my do good for the Friday. I'm just saying. We kill two birds with one stone. I get some sleep. I get to spend some little daddy son time. And the reason I'm talking about that is because I want to make that a bigger part of my routine. You see, I see in women in particular, right? When these things happen with so much women dying in the society, women have a thing that's post, and I want to talk about it real quick, in passing almost, right? Before I tell everybody the rest of my weekend. The idea that men have to take some responsibility for what is happening with women and the violence against women, I accept that fully. And I have that in mind around my circles, because I will say that we come from a more evolved, or we coming into a more evolved time. So, for instance, I do an episode a couple of weeks ago talking about in our day, it was a normal thing when you get licks and them thing. And I'm not saying that to say that parents was bad. They was doing the best they could with what they had. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. We are doing the best we could with our children with what we have. And they will probably do better in their generation, and they will look back at some of the things we do, like carry them cinema with the sole purpose of sleeping. They will look at those things as bad and traumatic, and whatever you do with the children, put on the psychiatrist money one time because it will cause trauma, right? But now that we're in a more evolved time, I will say that I have an uncle. I ain't going to call his name. But he's a full old man. He's 60-something, 70-something, or whatever. And he was telling me at time, he say, at time, I don't want to laugh. I'm not laughing, right? He say at time he was in a quasi. And a man and a woman fall out. And the man was beating the woman. And the whole of the quasi was cheering him on him. Yeah, beat she, don't know how to behave. Now, I'm not laughing at that, right? Because I want you to remember as well that when you watch Color Purple, Whoopi Goldberg tell Harpo, beat him. What was the woman name? The man name was Harpo, right? And the woman name was Oprah. I can't remember her name. But you remember Whoopi Goldberg tell him he had to beat her. That is the way. And she was getting licks from... What the man name? Mr. or Uncle? Mr. She was getting licks from him too. So when you evolve, you must behave as such. There was a time when the quasi would be cheering that on. I think we're in a time now where many, and there was also a time where people would say that's man and woman business, I ain't getting involved in that. But I think we're in a time now where people will intervene if they see those things going on. There's a little bit of fear still because of violence. A violent man is a frightening thing to look at. A violent man with a weapon is somebody who you want to stay away from. And you will start to think about your own safety if you see that happening. But I think we're in a time now where most people will intervene. I will say as well that for most of us, if I have a partner who I know is violent to women, I've been there before. It's something that you're going to talk about. You're going to tell them, boy, you can't do that. You can't think that is not right. You're going to show them why it's not right if that is your good friend. or you're going to distance yourself from them because everybody is an adult and everybody is responsible for themselves. If I'm talking to you about your way of life and it's you ain't getting through, or nothing getting through to you, I don't know how long I could stay and do that for. You know? I'm a big man, I have a family, I have a child, I have things to do. I have a job that I'm not performing in right now. I have things to do when the day comes. So I cannot babysit you and nurture you into evolution before you're ready to evolve. What I could do as well, and I have done, and it have a name for that, the Jamaicans is call them thing to a watchman, is tell the woman, listen, here what going on, girl. You had to get out of that, you know. Because that not going to get no better, and he not going to get no better, and he ignorant, and he this, and he whatever. But let me tell you something about violent men. When there are some men who good coward to it, they're quick to raise hand for woman. But if men confront them, they're quiet like a lamb. The issue is that you do not know which one of them you're dealing with till you confront the man. So, the same thing that ended up in the papers, you have to understand that from a man's standpoint. That could be me. If I go and tell this man, woman, boy, leave and do this, how I know it's going to end up in a scramble or blade pulling for me or gun pulling for me and I go down in the tree, you know. And is that a selfish thought? I would say yes, it's a selfish thought. But I had to be selfish in a lot of circumstances because I have things to live for. I have responsibilities and things to people. Because this same society that's saying that men need to intervene and men need to do this and that, when I intervene and I end up 6 feet under with them, I ain't even talking about the ridicule I will get because they will say, boy, you go and interfere with thing. And he went telling the woman all kind of things. Because nobody does know the story unless it's the people, everybody involved dead. Nobody don't know what's the real story. But everybody go put their story together. Just like that. God, so sorry and rest in peace to young Kimani and his family and condolences to them. Just like how everybody pieced together this story as to what happened to that little boy. Everybody go piece together a story about like he was looking for a partner woman and he thing and he talking to her. Not me. There have times where you're going to distance yourself. And I'm telling you, for me personally, I don't know what every man will do. But I'm telling you, for me, if I notice you have violent tendencies towards your wife, your woman, or girls is be with or anything like that, I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to let it be known. And you will know how I feel about it, and me and you go eventually wrong saddle. We're not going to be able to rally. We're not going to be friends. I've been there before, but as I say, we evolve. And I can't be wrong. That energy is drained me. You see that? And I can't do that no more. I do that already where I wrong people. Forget the domestic violence. No. I've been having partners back in the day where when you go out to them, you will fight. You know, I don't know if you know that kind of way. Like, there are some people who, if you end up out with them, the chances of you ending up in a fight, high. Because they like fight and they're leaving home for that. And I used to do a lot of that. I cannot do that now. Anytime I go anywhere with you, and I realize you like to square up and you like to thing and you like to... I don't want no part of that, Papa. Not me. I'm not going nowhere with you again. Again, I cannot... I have a family, I have responsibilities. I have clients that I have a responsibility to. Look how I gotta look now. I have clients and I show up now, I have a black eye. And or worse again now in this era of social media, I in a big fight on the main road now, fighting people and people cuffing me down. Listen, you see that thing. And then the clients looking to distance themselves. They're like, listen, this is not a company we could deal with. I'm not sure about the reputation of the director of this company. I have a obligation to students I lecture. What I gonna look like now showing up with a big black eye for class on a weekend, and I had to tell them, well, you know, I slip and the door jam hit me in my eye and all. What I gonna look like? So I'm not to be around none of that. And whether it's somebody who like to fight in a crowd when you go fete or whatever, or somebody who had a domestic issues with a woman, I talking to Olia. I talked to the man a few times. I talking to the woman a maximum of once because I don't want to interfere in nobody else's relationship. And that's the most I could do. So this notion that as a man, I have to figure out a way to protect all the women by being responsible for all my friends and all my partners, I don't know that is the case. There's also the notion that if you don't want to intervene and then call police, I want us to think them things through. Because this is not a country where justice is swift in any way. I personally, I just be frightened. You see me, and when I don't like to get police involved in nothing I do, and much less to call police in a man place and them things. I will say that if things getting bad and things, I will call the police, but that is my point of last resort. Sorry to say, I don't know how people feel about this, but I'm not rushing to call police for anybody, particularly a partner. Now, if I have a neighbor and I hear too much, I'll call police on them. My partner, I'll probably go and take the mediation route and talk to them and distance myself. If I distance myself enough from it and I still realize you're not, or I in the space where it's happening, I might just get the cops involved or get some other partners involved, but that is tricky as well. So I'm wondering if that's what women referring to as us standing by and not doing anything or pretending that we don't know. We know. You're right, we know, but what exactly is the action that we're supposed to take outside of talking to them or making it known that they're evolved, or, or even going as far as calling the police or calling them out on it? I don't know what to do again, because I'm sure that in the one way the police in this situation, to bar the issues that people end up having with what you call the thing now, restraining order and all those things, where you tend to find that a lot of the women who end up in these situations or end up victims of these situations, they tell you, or you hear the stories after they're gone, that they made reports there was a restraining order, but clearly these things not being enforced properly, and man still have this kind of notion where something belong to you. Listen, nothing don't belong to you. None of your possessions, your house, your car, none of them thing is yours. You got that much title to think that is not yours. You have to leave all of it here. No woman is not yours. Your child is not yours. Your mother is not yours. Your father. Nothing don't belong to you on this earth. You could only leave this earth with where you come with. Not even your clothes. So the reality is that this idea of possession and jealousy and so much of that driving that. And I want to say as well on the topic of men intervening, that there are also cases where you're lying with a man, you're going home by him and everything honky-dory. He's the nicest person. I only go find this hard to believe, but he's the nicest fellow. You yourself in your friend group emulating him. You want to be more like him, and you know what I mean? He's successfully doing, and you don't know that when that door closed back, he's a menace, and he torturing the woman behind closed doors. So it's all these situations, and it's kind of make me wonder when they post things like this, like what exactly you want me to do beyond that point? I could say, I could talk, but I will say that a big part of what I take on is the responsibility of how you raise your children. Because I wouldn't like to know that I close my eye and go on, and my son can't deal with a little horn, can't deal with a little leave, can't deal with a little loudmouth, a little embarrassment. Because them thing is the least. You have so much to deal with in this life. You have so much problems to face. Let me take it out of man and woman business. In this life, you're going to have problems. All of us went through it before. You're going to have, well, my boy Cassius reminded me there are some problems. But wait, this man pulled back out a whole picture from back in the day. I know this man a photographer from 19. How long? I never even meet this fellow before, and he showed me a picture he take of me and Stacy Grad. And I realized, like, when they, I have to do something about our belly, but on the journey, right? It's a 10-year journey. It's starting today. But you're going to face problems, whether it's with your physical health, your emotional and mental health. You're going to face financial problems that come in. You're going to have ambition where your money can't reach. You're going to have interpersonal problems with your relationships, your partners, they say that. You're going to have family problems. You're going to have wife problems. Your children go get a little bit of trouble. This life, my father always used to tell me, he say, boy, in life, it's a 3 major events when it feel like disaster and everything will be over. And what's end up happening is you come out much better and much stronger because of it. That is just the ups and downs of life. So I feel like as a parent, and we as parents who listening to this, a part of what we're trying to do, and all parents would have tried to do, our parents do it first too, is to prepare us to face the hardships of the world. So in your own simple ways, why they help us get educated and they encourage us to get educated and keep us on the right path. And the education is not just about going and make $1 and getting a nice job or driving a nice car. The education is about opening your eyes up to the world. So one of the things I appreciated about my childhood a lot, and I didn't know it then, I know it now, is that I get to travel a lot. And when I say travel, I'm talking about we went Togo for weekends and weeks, went Tobago for the week, went Granville, Guaya, all over the place, and including traveling abroad too. I remember going to New York, to Boston, to Grenada, Barbados. You're going, you're traveling with your parents, because that in itself opens up people's eyes. It's open my throat. It opens up people's eyes, because sometimes all you see is the block. You know what I mean? We have a lot of young men in this country who their entire ambition is on the corner, and I'm telling you, that's what I wanted. I wanted that so bad. I wanted a big Spanish link chain and an Africa ring. I feel I must give myself that, as a commemoration of escaping a certain part of life. You know what I mean? I must buy myself something nice where it is, a big chain. I will buy Antons and a big ring, but that's all I wanted. I didn't care. I wanted nice sneakers and a big ring and a big chain. And if I had get that, I would have called that success at 16, 17 years old. And I would have been comfortable on the block right through. Now, thankfully, my mother and father wasn't really trying to hear that. And sometimes what you not seeing, they seeing for you a certain level of ambition, a level of achievement. Sometimes you ain't even seeing that. I thank so many people in my life for being able to see that when I couldn't see it. But how much of us, how many youths getting their eyes open to the fact that the Berkey life is not the only ambition you can have. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go down that road. And that level of exposure is the same thing when you look at, at least in my opinion, a lot of these situations with men and their wife, they say the number one thing with man and woman is finances, not even other people and them thing. So if you're in a situation, your time's hard, your money ain't making like what it used to make. COVID is where it is. Gas going up, food prices going up, and now see the next article, chicken going up. That is a man who under real pressure already. I'm not defending anybody's actions. I just say it. That is a man who already under lots of pressure in the domestic situation. Now, you can't live by yourself with you and your wife and your children. You're probably living in a house with an extended family in a yard with mother-in-law, and there's pressure now. Mother-in-law come into thing, and some of these mother-in-law know how to use phone now, and they're recording and telling you what you used to do and who had to come out of the house, and that is an enormous amount of pressure, and at some point it's gonna blow. And I'm feeling like we in a society that whether it's ready to explode or not, this might be an explosion we're seeing right in front of us. So that's why the little Friday night thing I was talking about and Karen Zachary's cinema is an important thing for me. And I think especially men who raising men is something that I had to do better as and be more conscious at, because my son have a mother. You see boy child and their mother. Salute to every mother who have a boy child. I don't know what it is, but the bond that both of them have. When she home, he don't really take me on, he on his mother. But because she does such a good job and see about all his schoolwork and do everything with him, I have a tendency to fall into a groove. I'm like home already. I don't like to leave home. So I fall into a groove where I home, everybody belly full and the bottom dry. Pause. So I do my job and I done with that. But I'm making a concerted effort now to spend more time with him outside or just dropping him to school and bringing him back home. Spend time listening to me. Because, man, when I don't take pressure in work there, me doesn't want to hear too much talk coming up the road. And when I done talk for 2 hours on a podcast, I don't want to talk too much about nothing else, But I'm making him a duty now to do more of the father-son days. And I want to not do it with Zachary alone, but to identify other boys. This statement ain't coming out good at all, especially in the light of what I talk about Sabgaripo. I was going to say, identify other little boys that I could take along the journey. But you only understand what I'm saying, right? Don't try to think it up. But other little boys like a little cousin, you know what I mean? You have a little friend named Julia, little girls too. Just take what I'm saying, right? Just take what I'm saying. And, be around them a little more, because sometimes, like I could tell you, like manhood, because of the pressures that surround it, could be difficult. And it's important that the little youths, boys and girls, they're not only exposed to the big Spanish link chain and the Africa ring. Not that nothing wrong with these things, you know what I mean? People like what they like. But youths need to be exposed to what a man should look like. And we have to remember that it's not all of them who father around. And you have a way sometimes. Like I remember working TSTT back in the day. And I don't listen to my father. I want to hear what he had to say. He's annoying. I want to take you on. But it have men who working who just like my father and telling me things. And for some reason, I'm listening to them. So sometimes, even in households where they have their father, another voice that is positive, that's saying things, they might look up to you for whatever reason. They like your cologne. It's the strangest thing sometimes is look up to you. And you might be a little guide for them as to see, okay, this is how men behave. You understand? I hope I get through to this. So I'm doing it with my son and with other little children. I look at it in our little community where we live here too. I try to make sure that I know the little fellas and the little girls in the area. You know what I mean? It's not sounding good at all. But I try to make sure that they know me and things. And, just lend them a positive hearing, because you know, the teacher is only up here when the student ready, right? But the thing about it is, as teachers, we always have to be ready for when the student appears. Us who are to stay ready, not them. They give them the messages, give them the support, give them the encouragement, give them the love, and just make yourself present so that even if they don't have a father at home or they don't have the support of a male in the household outside of their father, or you have a father but you just like to talk to Uncle Corey, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? As that kind of guy. Then it's an outlet. It's somebody who they could ask a question, whether the problem is man and woman issues, is financial, is what else is stress we out? Work. Whatever the thing might be, you know what I mean? We can't just continue to have a society of young people who coming up frustrated and then all of us just act real surprised that the crime level high and domestic violence rising and all these things are taking you back to Sizzler, right? The man say, listen, do some good today. The reason I play that song is because I have a tendency, especially growing up through the years, when I hear do some good today, I don't think about myself. When I hear do some good today, I think about all the criminal elements and they should do some good today. I think I do some good today, you know what I mean? It's how we look at it. But I want to encourage us who listening to this. We are not a certain path, right? So that's cool. But add something good to the day where other people concerned. Not just giving, you know, not just the money or whatever it might be. But the signal you send to them, the time you spend with them, the questions you ask them so that we could become an outlet so that it takes some of the pressure out of the society where things just blowing up and them kind of things. So that's my, I done. That's my salvo, that's my question, or that's my challenge to myself, to be able to identify these youths who we could make an example for and open ourselves up to so we could be, I don't even want to go as far as saying mentorship. I just want to say be present to show them something different. To carry, figuratively, right? Don't carry nobody children and guaya, right? But you understand what I mean? Open up their minds by carrying them to a figurative is the word? Guaya or Granville or like what our parents might do for us that some of these youths don't have the opportunity to do. Sometimes that guaya is just a conversation for them to see that, hey, these are other ways that people could be successful in life. These are other ways that we could navigate problems. This is how I joke and talk with my wife and we sort out issues. This is how I do my little budgeting home. This is how I treat my son. Sometimes it's just opening up them conversations to that. So this is my challenge. You know what I mean? I'm going from the Doctor Strange movie. So long and short of the story is I'm going to... nothing about this and something good because I was going to say I'm going to carry more children in cinema and sleep. But I'll get to some good just now, right? So let me just talk about Deckies. I want to salute the people behind Deckies because... just like how we watching these people, and we have a tendency to do it from our perch, you know. I'm just talking to us for now, right? We look at people who's criminal and who's this, and we label these things, and who's wife beater, and who kill his wife, and who's this, and who's that. And I myself, I'm glad I didn't record anything before that little boy was found because I had material. I say, well, that neighbor was talking about she run down the child, and I didn't believe that story, so I said that neighbor killed her. I'm glad me record, so I didn't say that, right? But we tend to be on our perch and look at criminals as if there's some extraneous part of the society. This is a little children who grew up with us. It's the same thing. So Stacey forced me out the house this week. I done went to the cinema. I tell her I was tired, right? And I know I had to drive from Sando to Tong to drop Zachary up in Tong. And when I reached there, she want to go Deckies. She's sprite, she bushy-eyed and bright tail, whatever you call that, however you're supposed to say that. And we went up in the Deckies. But I'm so glad I went, right? Deckies is a spot in Wanbrook Place. But just like how little boys grow up and was examples to one another, either to go in a direction that benefits society as a whole, or maybe a direction that may benefit them in the short run, but could lead to death or incarceration, and is degradation to society at the end of the day. It's the same guide. And when I was going up in Deckies, I see some fellas who would have been that Guayari and Granville at them fellas in Carmen away, all this slow down. But that they would have been those examples to me to see, okay, what being a young man is about and what being in the working world is about at 20-something. When I started working, I must be 17, 18. So I'm going to remember all these names, right? Man like Ray Lynch, DND. What the hell is DND full name? I only know DND. Earl Policeman. What the hell is Earl name, boy? Mummy Daddy. I can't remember Earl name, no? Can't remember these surnames. What the hell is this, boy? That's all the men I remember. I say Ray Lynch already. a whole set of fellas who used to work TSTT, who apparently own Deckies or running Deckies now. And it was so good to see them, man, because I know my cousin Barney was working TSTT and that was his squad. Gary Franco. I know I'm going to forget somebody, but I mean, I think that is everybody. But I went up there and it was problems. Like Deckies was full. It was problems to get a table outside. It was completely full. It only have a little bit of space inside. And as I walk up to the door, the first man I see is DND because I know him working in TSTT. We had a relationship through work after the years I left TSTT and stuff. And these fellas as proprietors of the business standing up in front of the door trying to manage a situation where they oversubscribed. I mean, that's a great problem to have, but it's a problem nonetheless. You want to make sure that anybody who coming by you have a table and could get served, you know. You don't want to... It's a good problem to have, yes, but remember that when I come Deckies, and Deckies have no tables, is Deckies competitor I go in by and eat online, which is Buzzbar or one of them, right? So you would want to make sure that your customers always have access to your product and your experience. I hope they expand and stuff because let me tell you something. The vibes in Deckies was just right. I went to my little wife and do the wife thing. You know what I mean? When I say the wife thing, I mean drink heavy and eat some good little wings. And Deckies, I had to salute my guy Maurice, who I see up in Deckies. For a long time I didn't see Maurice, and a classic man kind of guy, you know what I mean? Although he's a Giants fan and he's a little bit of a loser. You know what I mean? Knicks and the Giants is such a sad thing. But it was just nice seeing, man, and you see, there's something wrong with this episode. I think I'm going to name this episode Pause. But what I mean is, these fellas I was looking up to when I just came to work in TSTT. I was working in a department called TOPS. I think it means telephone ops. I can't remember what the hell it means. But we used to be all in the call center then. So it used to be 6411, and you remember when you started to dial 0? I was one of them operators, or you used to have to call a number for overseas. Like if you want to make an overseas call, I think it's 6611. But we used to be operators, and I remember just looking up to them as fellas who working and have it together and, you know what I mean, doing their job. And them members just 20-something years. They ain't that much older than me when you look at it now. But it's exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying being examples. Because it's not like any of them was trying to tell me how to live or trying to get me back on any right path or tell my boy stop thinking about Spanish link chain and Africa ring. Like none of them ever tell me anything directly. But what they did is they did for themselves, live their lives in a certain way, carry themselves a certain way. You always see them carry themselves a certain way around women, how they treat women and things. And it's just an example, as I say. So I, as a student at that time, might have been ready. So it's for us to ready ourselves so that any student who looking on at us could see that, so that they don't only have one example to follow. Because you can't escape nothing in a society. I think as we see it now, you could do how much your gated community you want. You could move out, you could migrate, you could whatever. The way we feel as a society now is collective. Is everybody feeling a little sad, a little scared, a little uncomfortable is what's happening now in the society as a whole. And until we could continue to adjust ourselves, I feel is the best thing we could possibly do, especially as men. And when you hear the women calling out for fellas, what all you're doing, I think this is the thing that we had to do. We had to magnify the lives that we live in, so that more people could take example from that, because the magnification that going on a certain side of the fence is what causing people to go down the road. But anyway, fast forward to Sunday. Wait, now we're 45 minutes in and I'm still talking about the weekend. But fast forward to Sunday. My guy Zachary made his first communion. Salute to him. Now, I forget how big a deal first communion is. I'm thinking, I'm ain't going to church so long when I never do first communion. I'm thinking about... It was such a nice thing to see him go through his thing with first communion, you know what I mean? He went and do the reading, you know, he like a microphone. So they had him do the first reading, he did it up in the cathedral. My guy dressed up sharp, salute to Marlon Dow George, you know what I mean? The man like Dow who make this suit, a kind of West Coast and hey, he look good, the boy look good. The man come out for them. Hopefully, I have a picture of it I could use for the episode after, but you know my hand a little shaky with taking of the pictures, right? But it was nice to see these children. I think there are 18 of them who went through and made their first communion. It was a beautiful thing to see the little girls, especially who there was like I said about some of these little girls getting married or something. They're in a little white gown with veil and all these things, and you know what I mean. I think it was so nice, especially coming off of COVID, where I don't know if you could do a virtual first communion, but a lot of these little youths, a lot of these little girls get a chance to dress up and come out. They look really nice. Father Sergio do the mask. I was hoping Father Sergio tell people how their face looking sour. And if they're feeling good, they need to let their heart inform their face. But he didn't do nothing like that. Mask was just real long, ridiculously long. Father Sergio used, with all due respect, you know, plenty of the parents, like myself, who come to guide the child to do first communion, he ain't seeing them in church ever in life again. You know what I mean? So Father Sergio make that an opportunity to try to market and get the people to come to the church. Marketing, basically, right? Try to get people to come to the church and volunteer for the front desk concierge and thing. And I thinking Father Sergio was rum. We're going to drink home. We have rum done line up for this first communion here. We giving back good rum hours. But salute to them and congratulations to all them who made their first communion at the cathedral over the weekend. And I mean, it's done on marketing. Let me get into this this Karen Rose thing now. I don't know how much of you all follow this story. I'm not going to play the clips on it, right? So you got to go on Facebook and look for Karen Rose. I'll get a little background into it and touch on this quick. And keep in mind that I have a job and I have clients who may be some of the people who are the targets of this thing. So I'm going to be very PC with this and toe the line because nothing will stop my food here, you know. But the issue was that Unilever had done a campaign, right? And the campaign is a product launch. And in the product launch, they invited several social media influencers, including Daniel Loveless, who say what you know. The man who's do the alphabet thing. B is for bat. You know that fellow who have the whole alphabet running down. He have a lot of, so you know, U is for Unilever. That's what he come up with. And who else I saw there? The Junior Agrello, son of the great Joshua. I know I probably had the names wrong. The son of the Agrello, who is the mayor, he was there to the pan man. So there's a whole young squad of people who have some social media influence and social media following. And Karen Rose is a dude who I've seen a lot on LinkedIn and on Facebook and stuff talking about digital marketing. Now, my partner Maurice Burke questioned my salute to Burke and the Sliced Bread Squad. But Burke questioned my labeling this man an expert. But you see me? This is all he's talking about. This era of social media, I believe you could make yourself an expert on things. And expertise might not come from years of doing it at all, or might not come from years of school and certification and those things. Sometimes expertise has just come from talking about things. Now, I know that's song in order, but in social media world, if you talk about something enough, you're going to get people to believe that you're expert on the topic, right? And at some point, you probably will get hired to talk about that thing. I'll give you an example, right? In the strangest of things I saw some time ago, I wonder if you all know a guy online called Geo Designs. I started following this guy because he had designed us sneakers, and I find the little sneakers was bad as a local designer and thing. I started following him, and I like the vibe of his Instagram page and thing, or TikTok or whatever it is. But he's deliver goods all over the country every day. Like, he's the only delivery man and everything. So what I find strange, right, is, if you're delivering something to somebody and you're using that to build your social media, you will show the person you're delivering it to them and say, thanks, man, now it fitting, now it looking, you know what I mean? And you have your little taglines, Geo Designs on nothing, number one local brand. We're going anywhere they want with the man said he want the goods. You have a whole lot of little things he say, right? And he's real consistent. Like, he's posts often, several times a day. And he's driving all over the country. So you say, boy, I was in the gym, I can't get to work out in peace. The customer said they want the goods, it's great. Take your goods for yourself. Just check up Geo Designs. He's a whole vibe outside of the products, right? And I kind of like to see that because I like to see entrepreneurs. And not just entrepreneurs. I like to see people take it out of the mud. When something was nothing but an idea and they make it into something great. So that's why I like Daniel Loveless a lot, because I remember people was real, although people used to find him funny since back then. But I remember in particular when he used to do the what you know thing and laugh at people who don't know the right answer. How people, when I say people, I mean us who on our perch. So to say, well, I don't think it's the right thing for people to be laughing and looking down at people who can't spell. Oh, Jesus Christ, people need to have fun too, you know what I mean? But he take that from nothing. Now he's doing what you know all in Dubai. You know what I mean? I like to see that. I like young brother who start with the mud, you know what I mean? No hair at all. And then have a whole dread now and is mashing up shows. And when it had not dirty, I think I'll be in dirty, by the way. But when it had, what if it named Josie's Jamishness? So now you understand why I didn't go Josie's, right? Because the man was doing first communion. And I say, well, God, go strike me down if I miss the boy first communion. And if Stacy and strike me down in time. And go Josie's Jamishness, right? But Josie's Jamishness was never boomsy inside. Everything was outside in Josie's Jamishness. But it was better. The first communion was better, actually, than Josie's Jamishness. You know what I mean? Yeah, but people who pull it out to the mud, that's what I was talking about, right? When you look at people who create... But yeah, a young brother went down there and perform and mash up the place like a car. He cannot be stopped. Him and Hottie, I just hope two of them rally together. Because sometimes, you know what I mean, the man is a star and then the DJ kind of follow me. Because Hottie have a vibes and Hottie know real music, not just nowadays music. Hottie know all the old school. He's a bad DJ as a youth band. And two of these youths come up together from Sealouts. When you tune into... Oh God, my boy Keeks and them radio station. The other time they were interviewing young brother and stuff, and he was talking about his upbringing when he only had one set of clothes and he used to go all the dance with the same clothes. That's the only outfit he had. To move from that to jumping out and touring and doing things. And listen, I love that. Nothing don't make me happier than to see people do that. That is the dream to me, to come up with something, to try at something, and then all of a sudden you blossom, and everybody following you now feel you now come out, and you have a bunch of people who calling themselves like, nah, I following him since, I hear people talking about that with young brother now, nah, I following him since he just used to do it in Little Brick Wall. I like that kind of thing. So when you see influencers come up like that, I like to see people take it out of the mud like Daniel Loveless. But anyway, back to the story of Unilever. They invite these people, and it's a liquid laundry detergent, and they had the influencers there at the product launch. I think mainly to get traction from the product, basically awareness, and let everybody know. And now, I don't know, I wouldn't have known that they, listen, I do work for them, and I wouldn't have known they're launching a liquid laundry detergent and all them kind of thing. Outside of that, controversy. So Karen Rose came and said, listen, the influencer campaign is a waste of time. These people in Trinidad don't know nothing about that digital marketing and nothing about social media influencers, and these influencers. Listen, no matter what your message is, them things turn me off one time, because even if Maurice say I mustn't call people expert if I don't know there's expert, that's true. But even if you positioning yourself as an expert, why? Because you're an expert, you feel you alone know something. You trying to tell me that companies like Unilever don't know, they just don't know what they're doing. They don't know, they're wasting money. They're just throwing money down the drain. It's fools, you know what I mean? You're the only person who know. And the influencers who take it out of the mud and build a platform that's bigger than yours on several different topics. I'm actually Alphabet and have a bigger platform than yours. And you're just trying to say that them stupid and they don't know their words and they don't... How you so... I don't know. I don't understand. Them things I find hard to understand. But what I will say about it is that I would not know what Unilever's strategy is and what they wanted to get out of the event. I think like any good company, they would set objectives for why they wanted to do this and what they wanted to get out of it. I hope they achieved their objectives, but we're not going to know what it did. Whether or not you feel those influencers were deserving of going to that event or not, I think it's Unilever money and it's their strategy, so they can spend it however they want. I do think that they have a track record of success, must be centuries of success. And even when they do things that don't work, which will happen, that's part of getting it out of the mud too. Because getting it out of the mud means you're going to try something, and the first time you try it or the second time you try it, the thing will be so great. Listen, I want to say salute as I'm talking about this. No, I'm gonna I had to find a better way to get names right and thing, right? So let me go on Instagram and look for the right thing so I could give people their credit where it's due. I want to say salute to Estrian Danzel with her new podcast, Garden of Edan. I'm pretty sure I had everything right there. I do good. But she, again, getting it out of the mud. She on her third episode, just coming out with the first couple episodes. And I like the vibe. I find it's very, very honest. It's very sincere. It's a nice little podcast you could add to the rotation, especially. And men not like, you're just shooting until well, they go listen to that because I ain't come out on time. And you know what I mean? You can't escape nothing in this life, you know. But it's a real good listen. It's digestible. It's short. At least the first couple episodes she had so far were pretty short for people who prefer a shorter episode. I don't know if she's going to do longer episodes in time to come or anything like that, but I like it. I like how honest she is and how open she is, and it could only get better from that point. I like to see that again. Somebody who figure out something or find a passion for something and go in and get out the mud. So years from now, somebody could be saying, "Nah, I used to listen to that from since the first episode, and yeah, she real and she real great at what she doing." But when you now start off, you ain't gonna be the greatest you ever was. You had to start somewhere. So going all the way past startup stage and reaching to a global conglomerate and things, them things ain't easy to me. I also don't feel like those things are out of my reach. Like why my company can't become big like Unilever, and I listen. I want that for you all. I want that for myself. I want to be there. So this approach of everybody, and I think I may need to look inside myself, because I am always triggered when people start statements like, "Is people in Trinidad?" You see, when you don't start so with me. Do not come around me with that. I used to vex with all of the foreign-based ones. You see all of who live in abroad and who used to always talk about, "Boy, down in Trinidad, what going on?" I used to get vexed, but I'm starting to understand that when you're there or you're still here, I'm learning, you know what I mean? But don't start no statement for me when you're freshwater-ish. Fresh water, these Trinis don't know the influencer. I can't take that. I don't like it. And then everybody in the world except you. So when they hire you, that is when they will get. And that means you get right every single time. You don't make mistakes. You know, everybody else is just a dance. All right, okay, Karen Rose. All right, okay, we understand it. There's this new age of experts. And I always see it this way, right? I try my best. Unless I'm making joke, and you know what I mean? I like to make joke with people and things, but I do not like highlighting and embarrassing people like that and making, you know what I mean? I don't see how that is a good strategy, but again, yeah, it might be a good strategy for you to go viral so that you get traction for your own thing or for something somebody else was doing. Because I could tell you this, right? If Unilever had invite me and you who listen to this podcast to the soup, let me get this right. This is bread and butter. The liquid laundry detergent launch, and all of us went and wine and dine and do, you know what I mean, use the product, and we are more representative of the people who they want to sell the product, because according to Karen Rose, we wash our own laundry. And if they had selected us for it, Karen Rose wasn't doing no video about that, because there's no traction to get and have nothing to get out of that. But coming and talk about Corey, nobody don't know who is me. So that's it. But when you see a bunch of influencers in a room, it's one of the easiest things to poke fun at, so that you yourself could get traction and be seen as somebody who know what you're talking about. I just want to say this, right? If you look up the definition of an influencer online, you will see in marketing a social media influencer is somebody who have a following and convince people to buy things, right? I want to shift that definition a little bit, if I may. I want to say that influencers were around a long time before social media. They were always, everything that happened on social media used to be around before in analog format. There are people who would be thought leaders, would be opinion leaders, would be style leaders. That was something ever since, long before they had an internet. They always had people, and I'm not talking about celebrities, because celebrities would be certainly leaders in their own right in terms of what people do, what people wear, where people go, what they drink, what they drive, not at the same time, right? But they also had people in society who were not celebrity status, but was just movers and shakers. They know a lot of people, and you know what I mean? They had a certain amount of influence over people. So as I said a couple of weeks ago, the idea of an influencer is really somebody who has influence over people for some reason. So if, for instance, I do cooking, and everybody know me as a cook in the area, and as a chef, people will ask me for my advice where cooking is concerned, and they will look at me as a, you know what I mean? Or you look at I'm trying to remember Chin Leong's father name, not Adam, the father, who used to do his karate thing on TV in the morning. He's an expert on that. He would have had a lot of people who look up to him as that long before social media, and might be somebody that we will follow, quote unquote, before they had a social media for advice on karate and all these things. Benny is at a pool, and Benny's would be a swimming man, and everybody know Benny's is swimming. So when it comes to swimming, check Benny. That is what the influence was. The influence was about whatever you used to do that people were interested in. Sometimes a man just cool. It don't have to be a specific area expertise. So to influence people to buy soap, I don't want to be a washerwoman. Sometimes you're just cool, and whatever you do, people is follow and they like to do. Like I always talk about KMC with this. KMC was a star before he was a soca artist. KMC used to lime outside Colsort Mall. And he was the first person I see with a TN. And I want a TN because KMC in a drop low. You know what I mean? Big rims, big. He's an influencer. He have influence over people. Marketers now who always trying to find a way to get people to buy things from them. That is our job. I might be able to find, like, the people who I trying to sell to. I realize, hey, you have real influence over these people who I already trying to sell to. And that's how the idea of influencers with product marketing came about, because celebrities are celebrities, right? That's slightly different. Maybe one day we will talk about celebrity endorsement. But if you remember, I was going to say Jared from Subway, but maybe that's a bad example. But yeah, let me use him as an example. Let's pretend he didn't have all the issues he had with pedophilia and so on. This episode going down the road. But you use somebody like him who eats sandwiches apparently and lose a whole bunch of weight, and people are already interested in him for that reason. And the same people who are interested in him is people who you want to get to buy your stuff, because you positioning yourself as a better alternative fast food for people who are interested in being healthy. Match made in heaven. So marketers now could see alignments like those and say, well, all right, Jared, hey, hold this, and I will pay you to tell your story on our platform to your same people who are following you and build that following, and then we both benefit from it. So I don't know where this term social media influencers get such a negative connotation, because it's the same influencers who was there before. And somehow we feel like everybody, when you say influencer, you have to be in a bikini, you have to be modeling, you have to be naked. That part's of influence too, because I like, I like to be influenced in these directions, like Josie's. But you could be a social media person like that. As a guy who was following, boy, you know me. There's a guy trying to get a podcast named Simple Tax. All he's do is come online and talk about tax and little help, and so I hope I could get him to come and talk here about how I could not pay no tax. But you're building your level of influence. Or talk to Neola, for instance. Neola is a celebrity to me, but no celebrity. She's not a national celebrity like that. But she talks about what she talks about and building her following, and people believe in her in her tips and so on, where it's come to therapy. Nick Dean with the financial. So I just find it strange that this notion of social media influencers becomes something that we just look down on and we vex, and we as experts decide who should get what and be where, when the company is up to them to have their own strategy. Because as much as you might want to critique it, but that might be useful, but the detergent is in every grocery everywhere in the country. That is going to be enormously successful with or without your critique. And I would go as far as to probably say with or without that social media influencers being brought up product launch. They could have gone about it many, many other ways. But anyway, let me move on to more things. Let me move on to some serious matters here now. Should I get a breaks in this subject thing? Because I find like if he ain't calling names, I don't know if I should call names. Let me deal with this quick, right? Quick as you would. We're getting out of this. The Sabga report, if you don't know, came out in 1997. And it was really about pedophilia in Trinidad. The reason this resurfacing is because last week a report came out talking about the abuse and the sexual abuse and so on in homes for underprivileged children. Right? I don't want to get too deep into it because it's depressing and it's heavy. But that's where it was. And then they started talking about a report that was done since 1997 that was pointing out some of these same things. I was saying this in the podcast last week too, that I remember stories being told about women. Oh, I remember that one, a woman bathing with a sort of young teenagers naked in the yard. I remember I can't remember if this video came out of that or a photo or what it was, but I remember seeing that. And that's those stories about little children being abused. They're not new. It's just part of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, life here is here a lot about it, and it's just like the thing we talk about with domestic violence. So now the Sabga who wrote this Sabga report is apparently getting vocal these days, and you're hearing, I didn't even know who he was. To be honest, I didn't hear about this Sabga report before. But I'll go to Anna Ramdas in the Express, right? And it's looking too much like a real Sabga, like you're mixing them, you know what I mean? But it says, I won't call names. Sabga will cooperate with police. Let me get a read here from Anna Ramdas. Robert Sabga is not going to call any names associated with a pedophile ring, but will cooperate with the police. The former chairman of the 1997 Task Force into Children's Homes also says Akil Chambers' murder could have been prevented if they were able to find evidence to bust the pedophile ring of 25 years ago. Now, I saw on News Source, which I like a lot, and Rhoda Barrett, who I like to listen to, and she's clarified a lot of issues for me that I don't always understand in the politics. But I saw her post something about this that I find was, you know what I mean? I'm not sure how much thought she put into that, or what was the agenda in that post, because she said Akil Chambers was in 1998 and this Sabga report was in 1997. So why is he talking about this as if this was going to prevent something for Akil Chambers? And let me just read what he said again. He said the Chambers murder could have been prevented if they were able to find evidence to bust the pedophile ring of 25 years ago. I think what he was trying to say is that I produced this thing in 1997 and it gets silenced. Nobody take it on, nobody follow up, nobody investigate, nobody went and find the evidence to bring people to court. And he's saying if they did, let's say he pull out this in August 1997 and by September we have people lock up. He's trying to say that Akil Chambers might have lived. I find it such a clear statement. As how he feels that a high-ranking official may have escaped on accountability, he responded, karma is real. In response to questions from the Express yesterday, Sabga said he's willing to cooperate with the police in its investigations, but he will not call any names, as there's no evidence to go after those whispered in a pedophile ring and in the death of Chambers. Now, I will say that if you do an investigation into something and you have no evidence, it's a little strange that you're sounding so sure that they have this one and that one, because I saw him on an interview on, it looked like a Tobago TV station, and they asked him if anybody in the UNC was involved, and he said categorically no. And then they asked him if any high-ranking officials in the PNM was involved. He said, I cannot confirm nor deny, which is suggestive to me. But if you don't have evidence against the people, then what you have? Is it where you have rumors? So when you say names whispered in a pedophile ring, tricky thing, you know what I mean? You can't, to say I am that without evidence to show that I am that or I have done that, I think it's a dangerous thing, and makes me wonder if this is one of the reasons why the report did not go further. But I hear Dr. Rowley say, listen, investigate it. We good at that, you know. From 1997 to 2022. My maths ain't so good, and how yours is. That's something like about 22, 23 years to me. How much? Let me see if my maths right here. 2022 minus 1997. 25 years. Actually, I forgot that out. 25 years later, the article goes on to say, on Monday, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley called on Acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob to find the 1997 Sabga report and investigate its contents. Well, we know that happened, right? Okay, so that this is going nowhere. Asked by the Express if he'll cooperate with the police in its investigation and will be providing the names of individuals involved in the pedophile ring, including the one whom he said currently holds office. Scary, right? Sabga responded the answer is yes and no. Yes, I'm quite willing to cooperate with the police and share what information I possess, and no regarding to the names, because those I hinted at are already in the public domain. So there's little I can add. You must keep in mind that we are talking about events that were disclosed 25 years ago, and many, if not most, of these people are likely either dead or have migrated now. I'm all for justice being done, but everything we were told is anecdotal at best and cannot be substantiated. Let me read that again, right? I am all for justice being done, but everything we were told is anecdotal at best and cannot be substantiated. So what it is, and I'm not using this to discount the fact that we have to clean up what's happening in children's homes. And if you have a report like this coming out in 2022, where it's scathing against what's happening in the children's home, and you have something like this where it's accusations in 1997, everybody can be wrong, right? Nobody, I mean, there's some kind of truth to the thing. Where there's smoke, there's fire. You know? But the fact that you're saying it's unsubstantiated, and it's anecdotal at best and cannot be substantiated, makes me wonder what's the value of going back to this from 25 years ago. If it is we really want to break the back of this thing, why are we not focusing the efforts on what exactly it is happening now? Because, rest in peace and with all due respect, Akil Chambers has passed. They're telling you he would be 30-something years old now. And I understand what it looks like to have justice or closure for families and so on. But we also have to, I remember being at a funeral one time. I didn't understand it back in the day, you know. And my old partner, Albi, I'm looking for a job at the time. I was 17, 18 and trying to get into the working world. And I have an uncle in TSTT at the time. And I'm trying to get back in TST, but me and my uncle and so, you know what I mean, we don't talk all the time, and I'm young, I'm frightened to call him and ask for work, I won't feel like asking him for nothing. And his father had passed, my uncle, and I went to the funeral. And, you know what I mean, as an old man passed away, so you know, it's not as tragic and sad a funeral as some others. And I remember we see him in the funeral, and Albi, my partner Albi, say, well, condolences or anything. He say, yeah, you know, so and so and so. And Albi say, well, you know, let me don't just talk about the dead, let me talk about the living. The man looking for work. At boy, my eye open big. I say, what the hell is this? I didn't know. But I understand what you mean, because there's nothing we could do to bring back my uncle. We done here, we said, but we also want to take care of what happened now. And as bad as my song, I'm not sure what was the outcome we're looking for when we go back 25 years and put the resources behind that, because resources are limited, right? McDonald Jacobs clearly busy. He busy. He don't have time for nothing except, you know what I mean? When he had to find his own policeman who killed that he had time for. But other than that, he's a busy man, you know what I mean? Top cop and so on. So why not put the resources behind what we know now? Like, this seems like such a distraction. We hear now of all kind of abuse going on in homes, but we're going to start by investigating what happened 25 years ago. All right. He said the police will require hard evidence and the police will require hard evidence, and that I am unable to provide. It is the same problem we faced when compiling the report. We had been told a great many things, but we could actually prove very little. He said he had a feeling of powerlessness. The Express pointed out that on Monday a video interview was shown of him at a UNC meeting saying there was a link between two individuals in the Chambers case and a pedophile ring. And asked if these individuals are specifically named in the report, Sabga said they were not. He said, no, the Akil Chambers matter happened years after our investigation and our report. I use it as an example during a recent interview because the same individuals who were implicated in his buggering and death were names we had heard during our investigation. So he basically saying, listen, this was names that came up, but these are the people there. He said, spoke to the established pedophile ring that was suspected of grooming and preying on children in some of these homes. And that was the link I wanted to make. Again, we cannot substantiate what we had been told, but yet, there it was years later, the very same names were whispered as being complicit in the death of Akil Chambers. So, I mean, while I understand the need to maybe go back and identify this, I'm not sure how you're getting evidence of this now. Because that particular Akil Chambers case was pretty well covered up there. DNA evidence destroyed so much. And then 25 years passed. Who are you going to interview? Who are you going to ask? Where are you going to find them? As he say, people dead, people migrate, people move on. People who might have been innocent and no, they may even want to talk about that because they would have talked about that before and they don't realize that covering up and that not going nowhere. So what they come in to talk about it now for? So my plea is to listen. We know this happening now. Start the investigation as to what happened last weekend. So while my son getting first communion and having a good little lime and a drink home, you have some other little boy who's suffering somewhere, who's frightened because of what's going to happen to him when the lights go off. Let me start by identifying him and helping him and move the people out of the thing who I wouldn't say predating, who preying on him. So that we don't have a Akil Chambers to talk about because I had to pull back out my thing again now. Addition and subtraction is not a nice thing. 25 years ago, we have a Akil Chambers. When you add 2022 plus 25, what do you have in 2047? What's the name all you want to call? A name now that something could happen to and get the worst of stories and cover-ups you ever hear about in your life where people are looking for this Akil Chambers and they can't find him after a party and all of a sudden the next day he in the bottom of a pool like what is the Blue Lagoon he was in? Or there's a pool. All you must know he was there if people was looking for him before. So who is the name today that in 2047 the Prime Minister of the day will be saying, hey, we had a report and we think, and this could have not happened, and we didn't, I don't have evidence. And let me put the resources behind trying to figure out what's going on in the people's homes now and work on this so that the Akil Chambers story becomes the last story of that sort. Let me name the whole drive after Akil Chambers. You know what I mean? Whatever we could do, but we had to save the people who are here now rather than going back 25 years to try to figure out something that we're not going to figure out. Nothing not going to come out of that. So while I appreciate Robert Sabga, applaud him for his efforts that he would have made in 1997, it's 1997 we talking about, Atari days, You know what I mean? Nintendo cartridge days is what these men want to go back and talk about investigating thing, you know what I mean? It's the strangest thing, boy. I had to play a little song for the children, before we move out of this, because the children of the nation, we had to play something for them. That some song is to dance, and some song is to enjoy, and some song is just to listen lyrics. So listen to Kenny J, the late great. Listen to it.
Make up your mind if you could stand the pain. Make up your mind if you could stand the strain. A child is not a doll, it is not a toy. It is a human being, a real girl or boy. A responsibility that we must accept should be taken seriously with the right concept. If you bring an infant into this world, whatever the case may be, give all you got, make it your duty and bring it up properly. Our children need to be guided, not left all alone unattended. We must always try to fulfill their needs.
Yes.
If your child have a delinquent father, don't blame the child, don't give it pressure. It is innocent to all that's been going on. We must love them, care and protect them. These important things in life our children deserve. Make up your mind, try and understand. Make up your mind, take your time and plan. Children, as we all know, their minds are very young. We have to mold them well, teach them right from wrong. They're looking at me and you as role models for truth. And anything they see us do, they doing it too. Daily robberies are known as a new breed of criminals. Unlicensed guns everywhere, illegal drugs selling on every corner. Boy, where do we go from here? All our children need to be guided, not left all alone unattended. We must always try to fulfill their needs. If your child have a delinquent mother, don't blame the child, don't give it pressure. It is innocent to all that's been going on. We must love them, care and protect them. These important things in life our children deserve.
Voice of the man Kenny J. I tell you about his calypsos, all our stories are told, so listen, where the children concerned, we have to do things different. It couldn't possibly be that I don't care how we look at this situation with this Sabga report. It couldn't be that I see in this becoming a PNM versus UNC and who this and who led each other. This is something to campaign based on, and to say this one do bad and who do. Let's move on. I want to read an article from May 14th, 1961, right? It's a back in time thing, it's a back in time. If we're going back in time, we're going back in time, right? May 14th, 1961. Keep in mind that right now, we just passed May 14th. Well, you know how to get back my calculator again, right? So, let's say 2022. What my calculator going, boy? 2022 minus 1961. Now, here, you know, they call now the answer back. Here, all you. 61 years ago. Keep in mind that anybody you know who was 61 years, born in 61. You know what I mean? Salute to them. Only batting a good innings. For some of you old folks who listening to this, our parents and our grandparents who might still be here would have been youths, teenagers, even adults in 1961. So just keep in mind, I'm talking about 1961. This is not the 1400s or the 30s. So when you read things about what life was like and what the world was like back in the day, I want you to appreciate that 1961 just the other day. Our parents, most of the people who listen to this, our parents would have been alive in 1961 and aware of what's going on in the world and them things. To keep that in mind, this is 61 years ago. Anybody who is 61 or over lived through this. White mob attacks freedom riders in Anniston, Alabama. In 1961, a group of civil rights activists known as the Freedom Riders began a desegregation campaign. The interracial group rode together on interstate buses headed south from Washington, D.C., and patronized the bus stations along the way to test the enforcement of Supreme Court decisions that prohibited discrimination in interstate passenger travel. So again, what they're trying to do here is state to state, they say, you know, the Greyhound, I used to go from New York to Boston in a Greyhound back in the day. They're saying basically that there was a time where that was reserved for white folks, and they were prohibiting discrimination. So they're saying that they had to carry everybody and all this back of the bus thing had to stop. 1961, Their efforts were unpopular with white Southerners who supported segregation. The group encountered early violence in South Carolina but continued their trip toward the planned destination of New Orleans. On Mother's Day, May 14, 1961, a Greyhound bus carrying Freedom Riders arrived at the Anniston, Alabama bus station shortly after 1 p.m. to find the building locked shut. Led by Ku Klux Klan leader William Chappell, a mob of 50 men armed with pipes, chains, and bats smashed windows, slashed tires, and dented the side of the riders' bus. Though warned hours earlier that a mob had gathered at the station, local police did not arrive until after the assault had begun. So what they're saying here is that they tell the police that a mob gathering, the bus headed there. The mob is led by a Ku Klux Klan man. The bus have black people, freedom riders basically talking about ending segregation of buses interstate, and the police did not arrive until after the assault had begun. It goes on to say, once the attack subsided, police pretended to escort the crippled bus to safety, but instead abandoned it at the Anniston city limits. Soon after the police departed, another armed white mob surrounded the bus and began to break windows. The Freedom Riders refused to exit the vehicle but received no aid from the two watching highway patrolmen. When a member of the mob tossed a firebomb through the bus's broken window, others in the mob attempted to trap the passengers inside the burning vehicle by barricading the door. They fled when the fuel tank began to explode, and the riders were able to escape the ensuing flames and smoke through the bus windows and main door, only to be attacked and beaten by the mob outside. Let me break that down, right? Police play like they're escorting them away from where the mob was the first time and abandon them somewhere outside Anniston. And next mob reach and basically surround the bus and firebomb the bus and make sure people can't come out. And the only time the mob move is when they realize that the fuel tank going to explode, and they run. And the members on the bus now, the Freedom Riders, get to come out because they run from the explosion. And when they came out, the mob come back and start to beat them physically. When they try, after just escaping the ordeal, that wasn't enough. You start to beat them at that point in time. Going on. After police finally dispersed their attackers, the Freedom Riders received limited medical care. They were soon evacuated from Anniston in a convoy organized by Birmingham civil rights leader Reverend Fred Shuttleworth. So this is a story that is from Mother's Day. How much years ago? 61 years ago. Again, people who's 61 years old was born when this was going on. Anybody who, I want to say anybody who would have been 12, 13 years old in 1961 might remember this story and remember several other stories like that. So what I'm saying that and I'm stressing on the age to say that a little bit again, this is in our lifetime. You know, sometimes the world is now starts when you're born, you know. So when you're looking at years that come before you, sometimes it seems like so far away, like way, way back in the day. But the reality is that 1961 is not so long ago. You know what I mean? That is right there in terms of years and the people who lived through that. So the reason I'm reading this is because I had to take a look at that gruesome video, that very, very scary video that went around this week. And the not just the video, but the reality of the people who were in that situation in Buffalo. 10 people were killed and 3 wounded on Saturday when a white supremacist gunman opened fire at a supermarket in a black neighborhood in Buffalo. The premeditated terrorist attack was the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. for this year and Buffalo's worst in history. And they're going into a breakdown of everything they know about it, which I want to go through here. But before I get into this article, this is from the New York Times, New York Magazine. And they did a good job breaking down who this person is and so on. But before I even get into that, I don't know if you all saw that video. And if you didn't see it, it's not one of them things you want to go out and watch. In a nutshell, the man drives several hours away from where he lives in upstate New York to get down to Buffalo because it was the closest, very highly concentrated neighborhood of poor people who are black or black people who are poor. You know what I mean? The poor sounding harsh, right? But not a privileged neighborhood of black people. They went to people who might not be doing so well economically. And on the gun, he basically have a bunch of white supremacists saying he had the N-word mark up on the gun. You know what I mean? He let it be known that these are your reparations, all that marked up on the gun. And he went down there in full armor because one of the security guards, who rest in peace, ended up passing away as well, or ended up getting killed, I should say, tried to open back fire and shoot back at him. And because he was so heavily armed, it really ain't doing nothing when you have your little pipe revolver or whatever you use it, and this man coming in military weaponry. But listen, the video of it was sickening. And I want to tell you, the video is not no cell phone thing like somebody take him doing that. This man had a body cam or a GoPro or something like that. You see clear footage. This man stopped in front of the supermarket and shoot the first person. You see, listen, it was so scary to see the person look like they're dead before they hit the ground. It's like, bow! And people don't know what to react. People freeze, people run, people hide. And that man just takes sights at people. And the man is a clearly trained man. He's shooting one shot, one kill. Throw that supermarket and kill 10 people. And there was one point in the video, it's so sickening, where a guy like he run and he hide between 2 cash registers. And he point the gun at him and the man say, oh God, please, no. And he says, sorry, bro. Because he must see that man as a white man was lighter skinned than anybody else he killed. So he must realize that a white man and he leave any white man alone. So he let it be known that he coming to kill black people. And it just goes to show that when you look at situations like those in 1961, this little boy who do this thing, or this man who do this atrocious act to people, I guarantee his parents was around in 1961 and probably was well in support of this Alabama bombing. They must say, boy, nice, or they get rid of a few. Or they should have killed them. I know all let them escape that for. They should have bombed them. And because he have a 180-page manifesto about why he basically want to get rid of black people. And you see this idea of, what they call the thing now, boy? Great replacement or replacement theory and them thing. I mean, let me get into that in a while. Let me just get through this article first. This is from New York Magazine. What happened? 10 people were killed and 3 wounded when on Saturday afternoon an 18-year-old white gunman opened fire in and outside of a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo all of the people the gunman murdered were black, half of whom were 65 or older. Peyton Gendron is the man's name. Attacked the Tops Friendly supermarkets on Jefferson Avenue, roughly 2 miles north of downtown Buffalo in the Maston Park neighborhood on the city's east side. He'd been planning a rampage for months, specifically targeted the neighborhood because his zip code had such a high concentration of black residents, more than 72%. They say it was pure evil. It was racially motivated hate crime from somebody outside of our community coming into our community and trying to inflict evil upon us, the sheriff said. This is the worst nightmare any community can face, and we are hurting and we are seething right now. So this has been the reaction. I hear Joe Biden talk about it. He also show up there, but boy, it's telling the truth. I mean, I understand where we as Caribbean people tend to like the idea of Democrat Party. I don't know if we understand everything about it. This for us who living in the Caribbean or living in Trinidad still, right? I know the people who live in the States would have a much better understanding. But I don't always feel we understand Democrats versus Republicans here. I also don't know if we remember the history of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, where the Republican Party was one of them who was more vocal about abolition. But, I mean, times change and so do we. But I just remember that people like Biden and them was around in 1961 when things like this was happening. And I don't know what side of the fence they was on and how they felt about it and things. But it's literally, I don't trust them people. I worry about them a lot because there's so many questions to be answered in situations like these. Like, I hear a lot of people saying, if a black man, boy, listen. If a black gunman had opened fire in a white neighborhood, I'm not sure he would have get to 10 people. That's number one. 100% sure he was not getting apprehended. Like the man who shoots up a church, I believe it was in South Carolina. And the police somehow, those sound real, like carry the man for Burger King and things. I just look at these situations in 61 and several stories like that coming through the years. And could identify that this is more condoned than we might want to admit to ourselves. There's a large part of that particular society in the States. You see American people who they feel they are more American than anybody else, and although everybody is immigrants there, they like this idea of they encourage this idea of getting rid of other people, and they reward it. Because you can't tell us Dylan Root was the fella name. And that man, people worshiping in a church, you go to church on Sunday morning, he come and shoots up the place. How he captured alive. But George Floyd, Eric Garner, I mean, the long list of people. Like when I first started this podcast, it wasn't the first issue first issues I was talking about was the whole BLM movement, and all this thing had exploded when George Floyd had passed away. And it's like, there's no, a black man get killed by police. The white people in the States is like, yeah. Probably was a thief, you know what I mean? He was probably robbing people again. Whatever the situation is, the police right. He shouldn't have resisted. Is the popular thing that you hear. And then you could see a situation where a man could take his time and gun down people 10, bow, 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 bow. And somehow he could get apprehended while other people getting shot in the back, who getting strangled to death, who dying in the cell. It was a strange thing, but I'm feeling like if it's just a strange thing to us, and we must remember that this is the norm for the States, and behavior like that is rewarded, because the Great Replacement. If I could read for a second from Al Jazeera. The Great Replacement theory, and Ted Cruz and Ole Boy on Fox News is one of the men pushing that. The idea is that white people ain't going to be the majority soon in the States. And when I don't know if people understand what that means either. White people will still be the biggest race of people in the States. It's just that combined, all the other races will surpass white people. But they seem very, very fearful of that. So when I hear terms like "Make America Great Again," I firmly believe that the understanding or the underlying meaning of that is, let's get back to when white people were in charge. You know what I mean? Call it white supremacy or whatever you want. They wanted to be in charge, and they want everybody to bow down, subdue. Understand? Submit. We are in charge, and you don't have no voice here. You can't say nothing. We can hang you. We can do whatever we want. If you step out the line, you can't. Don't watch us in our eye. Don't suit our women. You know what I mean? I believe it's like that. So, going to Al Jazeera, Great Replacement is a conspiracy theory stoking racist violence. Roots of white supremacist conspiracy theory are not new, but the experts say Great Replacement has become mainstream. It has been linked to mass shootings in the United States, Canada, and New Zealand. Right-wing politicians and media figures have parroted its ideas, and experts say it is becoming increasingly mainstream. And this week, President Joe Biden explicitly denounced the so-called Great Replacement conspiracy theory as hateful fuel for deadly violence. He said, I call on Americans to reject the lie, and I condemn those who spread the lie for power, political gain, and for profit, Biden said on Tuesday in Buffalo, where just days earlier, a gunman opened fire outside a grocery in a predominantly black neighborhood. A manifesto that U.S. media outlets linked to the accused Buffalo shooter, who authorities have said specifically targeted the area where we get through all that already, right? I want to get to this replacement theory. While experts have said the ideology underpinning the conspiracy is not new, nor is it confined to the U.S., they have warned that the aftermath of killings in Buffalo, that the Great Replacement theory now holds a prominent place in mainstream discourse. That is thanks to right-wing politicians, including former President Donald Trump and popular commentators on Fox News such as Tucker Carlson, repeatedly spreading ideas that lay at the heart of the theory, said Kurt Braddock, an assistant professor in the School of Communications at American University in Washington, D.C. Trump used a lot of different kinds of rhetoric that demonize immigrants, and really it echoed the same kinds of ideas that you hear in the Great Replacement theory. It's been brought into the mainstream by the ascension of populist right-wing that has weaponized rhetoric around immigration and is weaponizing fear around the idea that white America is being replaced, he said, and then normalized by being discussed as though it's a true fact. According to the National Immigration Forum, the Great Replacement theory often uses martial and violent rhetoric of a migrant invasion that must be stopped before it conquers white America. Now, this is the thing about politics, right? Remember that a big part of politics is not just Trinidad, it's everywhere in the world. Politics plays to the majority. Minorities don't win no election. Right? A minority could finance and sway and whatever they want to do, but they need mass amounts of voters to come out to win an election. The issue is that in any society, the most educated and informed people account for a very small part of the society. So when you look at, if you want to use letters and things as a form of, you know what I mean? When you look at the BScs or the MBAs in our population, or any masters or bachelors for that matter, is a small percentage of the population overall. So one of the things about this is the kind of dog whistling thing that they like to do in the States is they talk about these ideas, and middle America, who might not be exposed, who might not be well traveled, them have no Guaya, no Granville, them ain't going nowhere, you know what I mean? They're very, very sheltered in their approach, and all they see is white people, and all they read anything is about black crime and Mexican thief and all these kind of things. When they hear things like this, they can genuinely worried and stirred up. Add that to things like social media that tend to reinforce ideas you already believe in. Because once you're searching in a certain direction, you know what I mean? If it's like this, if you like Instagram baddies, Instagram going to show you plenty more baddies. They're going to see my right. This is what they like, we could put on any feed. Twitter, same thing. We will see what Elon Musk do, right? But same kind of theory. So the thing is this. People who hear these things like Great Replacement and things like immigrants come to do them something and take their jobs. This is rhetoric that we've had here from the States for a long time. Immigrants are going to take their job and they're going to bring up all their children and Douglarize the whole nation. That's a thing that they've been talking about for a long time. So now that's starting to be, we must defend ourselves against it. You know, Dave Chappelle called them the tiki torch whites. You know what I mean? We must defend ourselves against it, and we have to defend our whiteness, because now it's all these black people have rights and all these Mexicans and all, and now they're going to be more of them than us in the population. And, you know, even little things like maybe they will attack us for what our ancestors did to them, and we didn't do anything to these people. And so it causing people like this fool to go on a rampage. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so, listen, it's so stupid, the idea that by, as sad as it is, you could go to a store and kill 10 black people, and all right, now we back in power, we balanced again. If everybody killed 10, we will get them out of the thing. And listen, it's such a barbaric, and these people who doing this are not very smart people. They've underexposed. You know the types when you watch them in the movies, or if you ever had a chance to go through the South in America, is you see them firsthand. And listen, there are some places you don't want to come off the beaten path too far. No? You want to stay, if you're going through Alabama and Georgia and the Carolinas, you know what I mean? You want to stay on the trodden path, or North Florida. Going to these people areas now, because they have a tendency to look at you like, hey, we could get rid of one. What was my boy name who was going jogging, boy? I think he eventually won his settlement the other day. And these fellas, remember my boy Cash, salute my boy Cash, my brother-in-law, it's no such thing as a citizen's arrest. It's the funniest thing I've heard, and it's true. Because I run and I go in my way, you following me in your truck and all of this side of thing, and next thing all you're shooting, and I end up dead because you believe that I think, what you citizen arrest me for? A big part of it is because they don't see other people as Americans. In their mind, America is them, it belongs to them, it's white, everybody else is guests that they could get rid of when they want and treat however they want. And we only have them here to see about our children and do a little babysitting. And what else we don't want to do? We could keep them here for that purpose. But now all of a sudden, I mean, they're making a lot of children. And I even hearing theories that the whole... I don't know if you all following in the States again, the idea that abortions being outlawed in several states. I even hearing theories that is tied to making sure that white people don't throw away no more children. Because they want to make sure white people keep their children so that we could multiply, you know what I mean? But, boy, listen. I saw on Instagram the same week too, a little white boy, this man by the neighbor door. So the neighbors are black people. You could find it on the shade room. And let me just give that a quick read here before we move on. Brian Thomas Brunson, this is the father of the child, is facing felony charges after his arrest. According to Kaufman County Sheriff's Office, Brian was arrested for firing the gun used to threaten the Nash family after his son was seen on camera banging on their door with a whip and allegedly damaging their car. When the Nash family confronted Brian about the incident, he pulled out a gun and told them to get off his property. An argument ensued, and at one point, Brian put down the gun on his porch. As the argument continued, he allegedly went and grabbed the gun, but it apparently he handled the weapon in a reckless manner, causing it to go off. So the story is the little boy went, and they catch him on the ring camera, knocking on the people. This man in my house. This little child come knocking on the people door with a whip. Where he getting them behaviors from? He inventing that? Or this is a part of his household and the teaching and the behavior? And you could see as part of the behavior and the household and the teaching, because when the man gone to confront them, the man say he lying, and they tell the man, listen, we have him on camera, we just want to show you the footage. Them going to the man as if, boy, listen, you had to talk to your son, because your son may know where you getting this from. If my neighbor child do something, I go and say, boy, you had to talk to your child, you come and eat this, you know what I mean? I not going in a way that, like, if I want to fight the neighbor. And that is how it seemed to me like they went. They went to tell him, hey, talk to this little child, because he coming by the door with a whip, expecting that, this is a 9-year-old child, my son is 9, expecting that, the father will say, oh God, boy, you do what? But let me tell you something, go back to 1961. That ain't so far ago. And the rhetoric and the sentiment that black people don't mean nothing, and the idea of great replacement and thing, it is real. And that's why they love Trump, because I believe that Trump, sociologists and thing, and people who always call it culture people and thing, anthropologists, let's talk about a society is not just what you see. A society is formed a lot by what dinner table conversations people having with one another that the public not privy to. And that's why they love Trump, because Trump was coming out and talk about things that they was talking about behind closed doors all the time. And they're like, hey, look, we have somebody who finally understand it, and we had to stand up for ourselves, as if somehow white people was the oppressed people in the States. It's the strangest thing I've seen. But when I look at situations like these and situations with this man who's coming and shoot people in a grocery, I think the real truth is that this is America, and that is what America is. and I was listening to that Kendrick Lamar album. Salute to Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is a genius. He's on the next. I don't know how much people listen to. I'm not a big rap fan, as you might know. I don't think I ever play a rap song on this podcast. I wonder if I could get away with playing Kendrick. Let me not even try. The name of the song is The Heart 5, right? I didn't listen to the whole album and thing yet. I will get there eventually. But The Heart 5 is a great record. You could say that. You could say record. Still a great song. Because what he was doing was drawing a parallel to what black people are owning as culture. And he's basically saying, in his own way, listen, this is not culture. This is things that we need to fix. We can't be calling this our culture and everything is culture. All the bad things, the drug use, we keep an illegal gun. You know what I mean? All the different things, the abuse. He's talking about it and saying that, listen, stop trying to own this as our culture. I wish he would do, like when Childish Gambino did This Is America. I wish Kendrick would take a Heart 6 and do a version of this that is about American culture. Because I think a big part of what we're looking at here is just, sadly, it's just the culture of the states. It's just who they are. That is what they genuinely believe. The abolition might have come, integration and desegregation and all them things might have come. But listen, they don't want us there. They don't want, you know what I mean? They prove that time and time again by apprehending certain people but killing others, and a lot of times very little consequences where those things concern. So listen, above all things, everybody who's listening to this and they always stay safe, stay dry, stay out of these white people way, stay on the coast, you know what I mean? Go if you're in the middle, as some cousin and them in the middle, or they come out the middle and head to the end. It all works out on the end, because the further always from the middle, you know what I mean? Man is listening in Texas, salute my boy QB, man in Oklahoma. Only head out on the ends and leave these people alone before we had to be reading storyboards only on this podcast. You know what I mean? I don't want it. On to more positive news. I have 2 positive stories and then again, I'll tell you. And if you want to see a version or in the movie form, when you will look at The Butler had a scene that had covered that Alabama bus bombing. So if you look at The Butler, the name, well, it was with Oprah and... Oh, and I name again, yeah, I like mine. Forrest Whitaker. It was a good show, and that also had the Alabama bus bombing. But let me say this. I'm going back to Loop News by just Loop News. It's not nobody who writes this. Apparently, Loop News just writes this. It was a joint effort. They say a birthday celebration fit for a king. I'm going back in time a little bit here, but David Michael Rudder brought down the Hyatt stage on Saturday, that is a couple Saturdays ago. One day after his birthday in the Live For Us Mother's Day concert alongside Kes the Band. I was talking about this and I saw the article come out, so I still let me bring it up. It was his first performance in Trinidad since the pandemic, not counting virtual performances. He began his first few songs teasing the crowd by saying, here's a new song, then break into classics like Calypso music, the Ganges and the Nile, the Hammer. He said few people can get away with telling a crowd, please stand for the real national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago, and break out into Trinity to the bone, filling the usually stuffy Hyatt ballroom with the energy reserved for a North Stand during a pan semis. At 69, he was alive during the album. Insane. Rudder performs like a man half his age, singing down the aisles, trailed by a phalanx, Phalanx. Google that and tell me what I mean. Of media cameras and adoring fans stretching out to touch the hem of his garment. Alright, so we're going a little fire, but okay. Being able to witness David Michael Rudder do a set is something every Trinidadian should experience. I believe that too. Minister of Tourism, Randall Mitchell. Randall Stoops Mitchell? How long did we hear about him? He was on the stage earlier presenting Rudder with a special token in honor of his years of dedication to the local culture. Years from now, another culture minister will say the same about a Kes the Band set. Once they took the stage after the intermission, cheers were merely decoration. The band has been abroad touring and they plan to continue in England later this year for the first time in 4 years. In a tour that will include Toronto, Miami, New York, and the Essence Festival in New Orleans. Salute to Kes the Band. I think it's just a great combination when you look at a show with Kes and David Rudder, because they both have a kind of energy. And you know, it's a different kind of energy on both sides, because if you ever went to David Rudder's show, David Rudder take you through a range of emotions. It's a fet mode, a serious mode when he talking about the society or West Indies cricket, if he ever choose to sing that song again. And he could carry you through reverence with things like give praise or down memory lane or societal commentary with things like who say and dust in the face. And it's such a experience is the best word I could come up with, and as an emotional experience seeing David Rudder and like as he get up to the 69 and them kind of thing, he getting better with it, the controlling the crowd. I mean, opening when he has songs like Hammer and Calypso and things to open with. and with them kind of classics, he ain't sing nothing yet, you're a beast. And then Kes have this energy where you're just bound to smile, you're bound to be happy. No matter what worries you have, when you watch Kes on a stage, you could get 5 minutes away from them worries and forget them for a little while. So, I want to, what else I have to talk about in this episode? Let me just make sure I talk about everything because I want to end this episode on some Kes and some David Rudder classics. I just want to say salute to Dwight York, appointed as head coach of A-League Men Club, Macarthur FC. So Dwight York have his first real head coaching job. So that's in the A-League, that's in Australia. He accustomed playing in Australia. If you remember when he came to play for Soca Warriors, he was playing in Australia at the time. So salute to him. I'm happy to see that. Maybe he might get to be Man U new coach since Man U pretty much getting relegated this year. And Arsenal. But I can't even talk because Chelsea is so terrible. I'm going to come out of sports immediately. I just want to play a couple songs from David Rudder first and Kes. Maybe one each and we can end the episode, right? I just want to play this David Rudder song because for some reason, I don't know if he's performed this song still. When people list out David Rudder classics, like if you think for yourself now and you list out 10 of your favorite David Rudder songs, somehow this song don't come up on the list and is a testament to how strong he is with music. Eh? But tell me when last you heard this. Yes? Classic Rudder. Yes?
We throw up we hand and break away. The jamming was all inside we break. And now we come back to jam again. Some follow the crap down inside the hole. Some decide to share the jam with the world. Want to find the jam.
Yes?
Want to meet the man. They say he's sharing love in a golden bowl.
Here is it.
And they ramage
And they break away when they get the calabash.
and they dip on the toe
From the head to the toe when they get the calabash.
and they bathe with the daughter.
Give up the water in a calabash.
And they ball like they won't stop at all singing in a
Calabash, calabash,
oh yeah yeah,
calabash.
oh yeah yeah, calabash, oh yeah yeah, oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah, calabash, oh yeah yeah, calabash, oh yeah yeah, calabash, oh yeah yeah, oh yeah oh yeah oh yeah. Now the jammer back in Port of Spain.
Oh God.
Even Mother Mary come again. Last year on she way to Macquarie. And she had the temple start to creep. Mama yo she lost she chicken and she macaroni pie. End up in the square cover down with die. Jumping all around, prancing on the ground. Now she have a calabash in she hand. Mama
What do?
yo she ramage.
And she break away when they get the calabash. And the dip and the throw from the head to the toe with a calabash.
Shouting, bail with your daughter.
Sip up your water from a calabash.
And she ball like she won't stop at all singing in a calabash. Calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah.
Lord.
Take aside the water coming down. Cock your ears and listen to the song. Like a big drum rolling in the street. The tempo could drag you off your feet. Some bound to get washed away to the sea. Some go do like monkey and find a tree. Some running like crab. Some looking to grab. But only we who know the jam go survive. So we ramage and we break away when we get the calabash. From we head to the toe when we dip and we throw from a calabash. And we bathe with we daughter, sip up we water in a calabash. And the ball like we won't stop at all singing in a calabash. Sing calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah. We say oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Calabash. Oh yeah, yeah, calabash.
Oh yeah, yeah, calabash. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Random, eh? I don't know. I asked if only remember this song. Only remember that. You must remember that. Rudder and Charlie's Roots, Calabash. And now, I mean, Rudder have anthems, eh? He's not somebody who, surprisingly, I really get into. That's some artists who I never really get into in this podcast. No, one is Terror. And one day we will go down a Terror road. And one day we just had a Rudder all the place now because Rudder is next level with hits. I don't know who have hit like Rudder. So when they're saying the Sparrow, the Kitchener, the Shadow, David Rudder up there now. And I agree with the writer of this article on Loop that Kes, one day we will talk about Kes the way we was talking about David Rudder. As tons of hits, tons of classics. So when David Rudder say he have an anthem that he could play for the real national anthem and play Trinity to the bone, the feeling that give you. Kes have an anthem too. And I'm telling you, I feel I'm the dirty. And this might as well be a national anthem as far as I'm concerned. Because when we get, all done jump the gun, right? Everybody, the melee and the thing, all went out, right? All in front, right? So I could be a laggard in this situation. But Kes have a song that just like a national anthem. Here it go.
Oh na na na.
Savannah
Savannah grass. I don't know where Dirty keeping it, but when I hear that song in the Dirty, I feel water could be my. They keep me out of fed for 2 years straight. I never thought I would have lived to see the day. But whenever they decide Dirty B, I hope my wife sorted out that's not saying this. I hope she listens up to the end of this episode because we ain't discuss this with nobody, you know. But if you're hearing this, babe, link up some Dirty ticket now, man. You have connections and thing, you know what I mean? Pong and flesh. That is about it for me for the week. I am going to talk to you all next week, Tuesday, as always. Keep safe, keep them trends safe, keep connected to them, and we're going to talk again next week.